Happening this week, CHS Studios presents part of an epic Sherlock Holmes mystery. Tonight's story will be the third installment of the famous The Hound of the Baskervilles. Have no doubt as to its interest to you, however. Even if you have missed the previous installments, you will find this episode a thrilling story in itself. And remember, as you listen to this evening's adventure, that Mrs. Thompson's canned ham is sure to be as quick a meal as Mr. Holmes solves his famous cases. Now we are about to enter Dr. Watson's familiar study. Good evening, sir. Here we are, all set for tonight's mystery?
Yes, indeed. I've just been sitting here getting my thoughts in order, so my story would be all ready when you arrived.
Why, that sounds something like Mrs. Thompson's canned ham.
Huh? How's that?
Well, Mrs. Thompson's canned ham has had a lot of thought beforehand, too. It's been carefully sliced and canned before you get it, you know?
Oh, yes, very good, Mr. Bell. I must say, you had me there. But I can't give you my story in 3 seconds the way I can get a couple slices of Mrs. Thompson's canned ham.
If that's an invitation, Dr. Watson, I won't refuse it, especially with more details about the Hound of the Baskervilles ahead of me.
Well, Mr. Bell, Mrs. Thompson's canned ham will be waiting for us at the conclusion of tonight's story. Are you settled?
Ready and waiting.
Good. Then I'll turn out the lights.
Oh, but Dr. Watson...
Yes, I flatter myself that there are 1 or 2 little shivers in tonight's story, and I think hearing it in the dark may heighten the effect.
Oh, I hope not. I'm covered with goose flesh right now. Thank heaven we still have the light of your fire.
Oh, come now, Mr. Bell. No need to brace yourself. The story starts out calmly enough. I had agreed to accompany Sir Henry Baskerville, a young Canadian who inherited the title and estates after the strange death of his uncle, Sir Charles. Well, as I was saying, I had agreed to accompany him to Baskerville Hall to try and protect him from the ancient curse, which says that all the Baskervilles are haunted by a tremendous black spectral dog, a veritable hound of hell, who roams the moors around the place. Colourful little superstition, huh?
Yes, but surely it's more than just a superstition. Remember that the footprints of a gigantic hound were found on the moor near the body of Sir Charles, when he died supposedly of fright.
Yes, I admit that was a bit sinister. Apparently someone else was of the same opinion, for the new heir, the young Sir Henry, received a curious printed warning while he was still in London. Well, it was the day Sir Henry and I had set for our departure for Baskerville Hall. Holmes, who was too busy to go with us, was accompanying me to the station, where we were to meet Sir Henry and Dr. Mortimer, a young physician who had been the late Sir Charles' close friend and adviser.
No, my dear Watson, I'm not easing my mind about it.
About what?
About sending you on this expedition. It's an ugly business, Watson, an ugly business. I wish to heaven I could arrange to go with you.
Now, really, Holmes, I'm quite capable of taking care of myself. You talk as if I needed a nurse or a bodyguard.
You've got your revolver, of course.
Naturally.
Good. Keep it with you, Watson. Keep it with you night and day. And don't let Sir Henry out of your sight, if you can help it. Above all, never relax your precautions.
Of course not. Really, Holmes, you talk like a nervous mother bidding goodbye to a young son travelling alone for the first time. Well, set your fears at rest. I have my toothbrush and a clean pocket handkerchief, and I won't get my shoes wet. Anything else?
You may not feel so flippant after you've spent a few days at Baskerville Hall, my dear Watson. I think it might be wise to... But no, I don't want to bias your mind by suggesting theories or suspicions.
Oh dear me, no. All you've done is get me so on edge, I'll suspect everyone, from the railway porter to the man who blacks my boots.
And not a bad idea either. Above all, I want you to report everything to me. Everything, mind you.
You mean you want me to write you letters?
At least once a day.
I say, Holmes, you know I loathe letter writing.
Well, you'll just have to overcome your dislikes. This is a serious business, Watson. I want to know everything which may have even an indirect bearing on the case. The relations between young Baskerville and his neighbours. Any fresh particulars you may unearth concerning the death of Sir Charles. I want a description of all the people who surround Sir Henry on the moor.
Well, for one thing, why not get rid of the butler, Barrymore, and his wife? He had a black beard, remember? So did the man who followed Sir Henry in the cab the other day.
But that was in London, and the postmaster who delivered our telegram assures us that Barrymore was at the Hall. Moreover, if the man is innocent, it would be a cruel injustice, and if he is guilty, we want him where we can keep an eye on him. I want to know more about him, however.
Very well.
Then there is the groom, and the 2 moorland farmers, and our friend, Dr. Mortimer, whom I believe to be entirely honest, and his wife, of whom we know nothing. Then there is the naturalist, Stapleton, I believe his name is, and his sister, who is said to be a young lady of attractions.
One ray of sunshine, at least.
Perhaps. She and her brother live at... Manypet House, I believe it is called. Then there is Mr. Frankland of Laughter Hall, another unknown factor. That completes the list, I believe.
Thank heaven for that.
Be sure you study them carefully, their habits, their manner of dress and speech, their mannerisms.
I'll do my best, Holmes.
Of course you will. I've really implicit faith in you, Watson.
No one would ever suspect it.
Well then, here we are. Hello, there's Dr. Mortimer and Sir Henry waiting for us. Fine upstanding young chap, eh, Watson? Yes, I'm inclined to think the Baskerville Hall is going to be lucky in its new tenant. I only hope it won't prove unlucky for him. Good morning, Sir Henry. Good morning, Dr. Mortimer. We're a bit later than we expected. At the last moment, Dr. Watson couldn't locate his favourite necktie.
That's a rank libel, Holmes.
Well, at any rate, we aren't too late to catch the train. It's just about to start, though. Shall we go along?
Have you had any further adventures, Sir Henry? Did they find your other boot?
No, I can't say they did, Mr. Holmes. But we weren't followed anymore, I could swear to that.
You see, Holmes, we frightened the man off.
I wonder. You and Dr. Mortimer kept together yesterday, I presume?
Well, no, Mr. Holmes. We didn't think it necessary. You see, I always give up one day to pure amusement when I come to town, and as they've just acquired some interesting new specimens, I spent the day at the Museum of the College of Surgeons.
Very exciting, I'm sure. And you, Sir Henry?
Oh, me? Well, you see, I wasn't as enthusiastic as Dr. Mortimer and his specimens. Thought I'd rather hunt up some of my own. So I found a seat in the park and watched the people going by.
Very imprudent, Sir Henry. London is dangerous enough, but the moors of Devon are even more so. I beg of you not to go about alone. But there, you'd better get on board. The train is ready to start.
Yes, well, thank you for all your trouble, Mr. Holmes.
Not at all. Well, goodbye.
Goodbye, Holmes.
One more thing, Sir Henry. Above all, remember the warning of the old legend. Avoid the moors in those hours of darkness when the powers of evil are exalted.
Wake up, Sir Henry. Wake up. We're almost there.
Huh? Oh, I must have dozed off. The landscape's changed. More lush, more rolling. A richer, damper country. Yes, I've been all over the world since I left England as a boy. I've never seen a place compare with Devon. Look at those plump red cows in the well-hedged fields. There's a picture for you, eh, Dr. Watson?
Yes. I never saw a Devonshire man yet who didn't swear by his country.
It depends on the breed of man, quite as much on the country itself, Dr. Watson. A glance at Sir Henry here shows the well-rounded head of a true Celt, which carries inside it the Celtic enthusiasm and power of attachment. You were very young when you last saw Baskerville Hall, Sir Henry.
As a matter of fact, I've never seen it. I was a boy in my teens at the time of my father's death. We lived in a cottage on the south coast. After that, I went to a friend in America. All this is as new to me as to Dr. Watson. I've got a great curiosity about the moor.
Have you... Well, look at the window to your right, and you'll get the first glimpse of it. In the distance, there past the green squares of the fields and the low curve of the woods, there it is, rising like a grey, melancholic hill, with a strange, jagged summit.
It looks dim and vague, like some fantastic landscape in a dream.
And yet, that's where I belong. My roots are there. I feel it. On the foreboding moor, my ancestors have lived and died. God knows what fate waits for me on its bleak stretches, and yet I have a feeling that at last I have come home.
The train is slowing up. Yes, this is our station.
What?
I said this is our station, Sir Henry.
I'm sorry, I must have gone off into some sort of daze. Perhaps the moor has cast its spell on me.
At least there's nothing foreboding about this little station, huh, Dr. Mortimer? Sweet little country spot. Flower beds and low white fences. Yes. But what are those two soldierly-looking men in dark uniforms doing at the gate? They seem to be looking for someone.
Blessed if I know. Ah, there's your wagonette, Sir Henry.
Nice pair of cobs you've got at any rate.
Yes, looks as if my uncle understood horseflesh.
Here comes your groom, the gnarled little fellow. His name's Jenks.
Well, well, Sir Henry. Sir, welcome to Devon, and long life and happiness to you at Baskerville Hall.
Thank you, Jenks. Thank you. But how were you so sure I was Sir Henry and not Dr. Watson here?
Why, bless you, sir. You're a true Baskerville, and high-blooded, fiery, masterful men they be. I'd have knowed you on the dock. But come this way, gentlemen, the carriage is waiting. Hey you, Jock, Terry, don't you be standing around a gawking. Make yourselves handy and bring his lordship's luggage. Here you are, sir. Look out, the steps pretty high.
You first, Watson? Now, Mortimer?
If you'll excuse me, I don't think I'll drive out to the hall tonight. I'd better go straight home. I'm sure my wife will be expecting me.
Of course, Mortimer. We'll see you soon, I hope.
Yes, indeed. I'm sure Barrymore will show you over the place. He's a better guide than I am.
Well, goodbye, Mortimer, and thank you again for befriending me.
It was a pleasure and a privilege, Sir Henry. And remember, don't ever hesitate, night or day, to send for me if I can be of service.
I won't, Mortimer. I won't.
Goodbye. We'll see you soon.
Get up, Jupiter. Come on, Hercules.
Goodbye. Goodbye.
Well, Dr. Watson, here we are heading for the moors. Look at them rising dark against the sunset. The long, gloomy curve broken by those jagged and sinister hills.
Yes, it's a bit awe-inspiring, isn't it?
Awe-inspiring. Man, it's magnificent.
Is there no end to this moor? Seems as though we've been riding for hours and still we get nowhere.
Yes, it is big. Big and empty. But look at the bramble and the bracken, and the dripping moss, all touched with autumn. Isn't it beautiful?
Seems a trifle melancholy to me. Maybe it's just the falling leaves.
But the smell of it all, the air, it's intoxicating, like a heavy wine. Hello. There's a noisy creek foaming and roaring between the grey boulders. Ah, here's a stone bridge.
And there's another one of those men in uniform guarding it. I wonder why.
It's on account of him that's escaped from Princeton, sir. Been out 3 days, he has.
You mean there's a convict loose on these moors?
Yes, sir. They've got watchers on all the roads they has. The farmers hereabouts don't like it, sir, and that's a fact.
Why, won't they be given a reward if they can give information as to his whereabouts?
Yes, sir, but the chance of a reward's a poor thing compared to the chance of having your throat out. He weren't no ordinary convict, you see. He was a killer.
What's his name?
Selden. He's the Notting Hill murderer.
By Jove, he's a bad one. I remember the case well. Holmes took an interest in it because of the peculiar ferocity of the crime.
But why didn't he receive the death sentence?
It was commuted to life imprisonment due to some doubts as to the man's complete sanity. And so this fiend is hiding somewhere on this huge expanse of moor? Hiding in a burrow like a wild beast. Huh. Small chance he'll have of finding him among all those cans and tours.
Feel that wind.
Yes, sir. We're coming to the top of a rise. You'll see the whole moor spread out afore you in no time.
It's getting darker. Look, the first star.
There you are, sir. How's that for a view?
Isn't it immense? Goes on forever.
It's bleak and desolate, if you ask me.
I don't know, there's something about it. Something that draws you into it.
Aye, the Baskervilles have always had a feeling for the moors. It draws them, it does, like steel to a magnet. You see yon dark patch of stunted oaks and firs with the two towers rising out of it? That's Baskerville Hall.
It's very old, isn't it?
Yes, sir. They do say parts of it go back to the times when the Normans first come over from France. Those towers have slits in them for shooting out with bows and arrows. Get up, Jupiter. Stir yourself, or we'll begin his lordship home late for supper.
Look at the large gates. Fantastic iron tracery, eh?
It's dark under these trees, isn't it? Even the wagon wheels are bushed by the falling leaves.
Jenks, was this where they found him?
No, Sir Henry. The yew alley is on the other side of the house, towards the moors.
Those trees, they give me the creeps. They must have been twisted and bent by the fury of years of storm. You can't see the sky between them. It's like a vault.
No wonder my uncle felt that doom was looking over his shoulder in a place like this. It's enough to scare any man. I'll have a row of lights down this drive in once time.
Here's the house, sir.
Good heavens, it's like a medieval castle, covered with lichen and ivy, mullioned windows, and those two enormous towers.
Yes, looks as though they were brooding over the place. What secrets they could tell, eh?
The door's opening. Someone's silhouetted against the yellow light.
Yes, must be Barrymore. Look at that tremendous beard.
Welcome, Sir Henry. Welcome to Baskerville Hall.
Thank you, Barrymore. Oh, this is Dr. Watson. You got my wire, saying that we were coming.
Yes, sir. But come in, sir. Jenks, take the bags upstairs. I lit a fire, your lordship. I thought you might be cold after the long drive.
That's a good idea, Barrymore. Come on, Watson, let's warm up, eh?
Yes, a little heat does feel good. By Jove, what a fireplace! You could drive a horse and cart into it.
And this hole. The great hall of my ancestors. And there they all are in their frames. Quite an impressive gathering hung against the blackened beams.
They seem to be sizing us up, don't they? The room's so big, just candles to light it. The long black shadows trailing down the walls and hanging above us like a canopy.
Yes, those huge rafters, the stained glass, the oak paneling, the coats of arms. To think that this is the same hall my ancestors have lived in for hundreds and hundreds of years. It strikes me solemn to think of it.
Would you wish dinner to be served at once, sir?
Is it ready?
In a very few minutes, sir. You will find hot water in your rooms, if you care to wash.
That's an excellent idea, Barrymore.
Very good, sir. I'll show you the way. Follow me, gentlemen.
The house sounds empty, doesn't it?
Yes. Look here. Ever seen a finer piece of oak carving than this balustrade?
Yes, sir. They say it was done by some Italian workmen that a Baskerville brought over at the time of Henry VIII. Here are your rooms, gentlemen. I'll put you in this wing because it's a bit more modern.
Modern?
Yes, sir. It was built at the time of Cromwell.
Dear me, practically day before yesterday.
This is your room, Sir Henry. Shall I light the fire?
Never mind, Barrymore. I'll do it myself.
The other gentleman's room is adjoining. I thought you might like to be near one another for company.
A very good idea, Barrymore.
Yes, sir. Is there anything else I can do?
No, thank you. We'll wash up and be right down for dinner.
Very good, sir.
Great Scott. This isn't a very cheerful place we brought you to, Dr. Watson. No wonder my uncle got jumpy living here by himself.
Maybe it'll be brighter in the morning?
It couldn't be gloomier, that's one sure thing. Look, there's a half moon shining in the window.
Yes, this side of the house faces out over the moor. How weird it looks in the moonlight.
And that copse of trees swaying and moaning in the wind. It's downright eerie.
Oh, no, no, no.
Well, Dr. Watson, thank heaven the sun has decided to shine this morning. Puts quite a different complexion on the whole place, eh?
I should say so. See it pouring through these mullioned windows? It's hard to realize that this was a chamber of shadows and gloom last night.
Yes, even the pictures of my ancestors look brighter. Less formidable.
All but that dark, sinister fellow over the mantelpiece.
Yes, Barrymore tells me that is the original Sir Hugo, the one that brought the curse down on us. But let's not bother about him, eh? Let's have a look at the rest of the troupe. Yes, there they all are, from the Elizabethan knight to that Buck of the Regency.
Gaudy chap, isn't he? I say, Baskerville,
Yes,
about that woman we heard last night.
you mean the one we thought we heard. The chimneys in some of these places make funny noises now and then.
Look here, that's no good. I heard it, and so did you. A woman's voice, a woman crying somewhere in this house.
Yes, but it all seems so impossible in the light of the day. Oh, here comes Barrymore. I'll ask him about it. Barrymore. Oh, Barrymore. Come here a moment, will you?
Yes, sir? Did you wish anything, sir?
I was just wondering. Look here, Barrymore. Last night, Dr. Watson, that is, we thought we heard a woman crying somewhere in this house.
A woman, sir?
Yes, Barrymore.
But you'll pardon me for saying so, your lordship, but that's not very likely. There's no woman here, excepting Mrs. Barrymore, that is, and I'm sure she wouldn't be after crying, sir.
But I heard it, I tell you. Heard it distinctly. Her sobs came in long, muffled, strangling gasps.
You must be mistaken, sir. It was the wind, most likely. It makes strange noises round the corners of the house sometimes. It often frightens strangers, sir, particularly when their nerves are upset. Anything else, Sir Henry?
No, that's all, Barrymore. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Baskerville, that man was lying. I could swear to it. Did you see the way the pupils of his eyes contracted when you mentioned the woman?
Yes. I admit he did seem taken off his guard for a moment.
I don't trust that man. He's hiding something. He may have been in London after all. The man in the cab had a beard just like his.
Yes, but that telegram. The postmaster swears he was here to receive it.
I tell you, I'm not satisfied with that alibi. Let's take a walk down to Grimpen and have a talk with the postmaster.
Good idea. Yes, Barrymore, what is it now?
Beg pardon, sir, but there's some accounts and papers to be looked over. I put them in your study.
Thank you, Barrymore. They'll have to wait.
But some of them are very urgent, sir.
Very well. I'll be right in.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Look here. I could swear he's been listening on the other side of that door. If you're going to stay here, so am I.
Nonsense, Watson. You go on down to Grimpen. The exercise will do you good. What can possibly happen to me here, in the broad daylight?
You're the Grimpen postmaster, huh?
Yes, sir. What can I do for you, sir?
It's about that telegram Sir Henry sent to the Hall. He wants to be sure Barrymore was there when you delivered it.
But I already let him know about that, sir. I delivered it exactly as was directed.
You handed it to Mr. Barrymore. Into his own hands, I mean.
Well, no, sir. I wouldn't go so far as to say that, sir. You see, he was up in the loft at the time, so I give it to Mrs. Barrymore, and she said she'd give it to him directly he come down.
Oh, then in that case you didn't see Barrymore at all.
No, but how could I, sir? And him up in the loft?
Then how did you know he was there at all?
But I just told you, sir. His wife said so. And if a man's own wife don't know where he's at, who does?
Well, we don't seem to be getting anywhere with this conversation. I guess I'll just stroll back to the hall.
Anything else I can do for you, sir? Just let me know. Always ready to oblige anyone from the big house, I am.
Thank you, but you've done quite enough for the time being.
No, thank you, sir.
Yes. Well, goodbye.
Good day to you, sir.
Confound it! Why couldn't the fellow have been more careful? Up in the loft, that's a fine alibi. Like as not, Barrymore was up in London all the time. Well, I must say the moor looks more cheerful in the sunlight. Lovely autumn colours. Hello. Who's that chap up ahead? Slim, flaxen-haired, prim-faced. What's that he's carrying? Yes, a butterfly net. By Jove, that must be the naturalist fellow. What's his name? Ah, yes, Stapleton. May as well make his acquaintance. Holmes wanted to know all about the neighbours. Good morning, Mr. Stapleton, I believe. Pardon my speaking without an introduction.
Dear me, not at all. We're homely folk. Here on the moors we've dispensed with most formalities. And you're Dr. Watson, of course. Dr. Mortimer told us you'd arrive at the hall. I trust that Sir Henry is none the worse for his journey.
He's very well, thank you.
Delighted to hear it. We were afraid, after the sad death of Sir Charles, that the new baronet might not care to live here. It would have been a great loss to the countryside. Sir Henry has, I suppose, no superstitious fears in the matters?
No, I don't think so.
Of course. You know the legend of the fiend dog?
Naturally.
Yes. Extraordinary how credulous the peasants hereabout are. Any number of them are ready to swear they've seen the beast on the moors.
But surely you and I, and Sir Henry, aren't going to let ourselves be upset by this folklore, huh?
No, of course not. Foolish of me to mention it. But if, by any chance, you should ever feel the need for my assistance, be sure to call on me, won't you?
Of course. But really, we don't anticipate any difficulties.
No, of course not. Wonderful place, the moors, eh? So vast, so barren, so mysterious.
You know it well, then?
Yes. My sister and we lived here for 2 years now. I've explored it thoroughly. I think few men know it as well as I do.
Is it hard to know?
Hard and dangerous. You see that great plain in the north, with the queer hills breaking out of it? See anything remarkable about it, eh?
It would be a rare place for a gallop, huh?
Yes. That idea has cost several people their lives. Do you notice those bright green spots scattered thickly over it?
Yes, they seem more fertile than the rest.
That, my dear Watson, is Grimpen Mire. A false step means death to man or beast. Heaven only knows how many lives have claimed. Sheep that have wandered from the fold. More ponies. Men lost in the fog. Yes, a treacherous place. And yet, would you believe it, I can find my way to the very heart of it, and return alive.
But why should you want to go into such a horrible place?
You see the hills beyond? In reality, they are islands surrounded by impassable mire. There are many rare specimens there, both of plants and butterflies, if you know how to reach them.
Really? I shall have to try some day.
God forbid! Your blood would be on my head. There wouldn't be the slightest chance of your coming back alive. It's only by remembering certain very complex landmarks that I am able to do it myself.
Look! One of the Moor ponies. He stumbled into the mire. Quick, we must pull him out.
It's no use, Dr. Watson. He'll be gone by the time we could reach him.
It's brutal. Look at the poor fellow struggle. Deeper, deeper. Oh, I can't watch it.
He's gone.
In heaven's name, what's that?
Yes. Queer place, the moor.
But what is it?
The peasants say it's the hound of the Baskervilles calling for its prey. I've heard it once or twice before, but never so loud.
Yes, but look here. You're an educated man. You, surely. You don't believe such nonsense. What do you think causes that horrible noise?
Bogs make queer noises sometimes. It's the mud settling, or rising, or something.
No, that was a living voice. I could swear to it.
Well, perhaps. Ever hear a bittern booming?
Well, no, I can't say I have.
It's a very rare bird, practically extinct in England now, but all things are possible on the moors, you know. Ah, what's that? Why, bless my heart, surely it's a cyclopid.
Looks like an ordinary moth to me.
No, I must have it for my collection. What luck! Excuse me, please.
Queer chap. There he goes with his net, jumping about like a huge frog. Extraordinarily active. But everything's extraordinary on this confounded moor. It haunts you, it...
Psst, psst.
Huh? What's that?
It's me. Oh, please.
My dear young lady, don't look so terrified. There's nothing.
Go back. Oh, please go back to London.
But why?
I can't explain. But for God's sake, do what I ask. Go, and never set foot on this moor again.
But I've only just come.
Oh, please, please. It's for your own good. Go back to London. Start tonight. Get away from this place at all costs. Oh, here's my brother coming back again. He mustn't know I've seen you. Go, please go. Your life depends on it.
Oh, so the young lady was Mr. Stapleton's sister?
Yes, Mr. Bell. Handsome girl she was, too. Uncommon type. Great contrast between her and her brother. He was neutral-tinted, colourless, while she was darker than any brunette I have seen in England. Slim, elegant, and tall. She had proud, finely cut features, with a sensitive mouth and beautiful, dark, eager eyes. Yes, quite a strange apparition to find on a lonely moorland path.
Well, you certainly found all sorts of queer things on that moor. You kept your promise about giving me a couple shivers in tonight's story.
That was only the beginning, Mr. Bell.
And tomorrow, what happens in the next installment of The Hound of the Baskervilles?
Well, I'll tell you more about Sir Henry's new neighbours, and how we saw a dark and sinister apparition at night upon the moor.
That's over this same station at 7 p.m. St. Paul time. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider donating to the Chaska High School Theatre Department to help fund future projects. You can mail your donations to Chaska High School, care of Mrs. Jane Herget, 545 Pioneer Trail, Chaska, Minnesota, 55318. This program comes to you from the CHS studios in Minnesota.